Wondering what you're gonna ask me today. Don't start with how was your race, because I throw my microphone away and. I started riding a bike because my brother Luca is 6 years older than me. He was already racing a bike. I just grew up into his life, you know. My parents decided to buy a PV50. Their intention was not to put me on immediately, but as soon as I saw it, I started to cry because I wanted to try. From that day, I started immediately without training wheels. During the weekend, we were going racing with my brother. I was just riding around the paddock the whole day and coming back to the camper only when I had an empty fuel tank. When I was 15, at my very first year in the World Championship, I got the chance to race for Yamaha in a satellite team.
Picking her lines nice and easily with Chiara Fontanesi.
My dad at the beginning, he was not very sure because he didn't want to put me in the hands of somebody else, and he also was not sure if he wanted me to ride the World Championship. I said we have to take this opportunity, and luckily we did. That year I won my very first moto with a 125 in Europe, and since then we saw that I had the possibility to, one day fight for the World Championship. After the first year, we decided to do it on our own. We built our own team, kept going with the MX Fonta Racing team since then to now. A big reason of why I could achieve so much during the years is because I always had a great team. My family, my dad knows perfectly how to put the bike in terms of suspension. And my brother always did the electronic. He always been a rider and he know what I need. Everything was managed by us and everything was going around me, my races and my results. My family is my first supporter and they walk with me in the same direction. I trust them 100%. My very first championship win has been taken in England. For sure it's something that will last forever in my heart. Already one was already something great, and to win 4 in a row was incredible.
A 4-time world champion, Chiara Fontanesi, and Yamaha world champions again.
A girl to succeed in motocross need a really strong mind, be talented, and of course need to have a physical condition which is very good. I think my strength point as a racer is my head. I'm mentally really strong. When you're really tired and you still have to push because you need to be on a certain time or a certain repetition, it's there where your mind needs to come out and say you can do it, I think also I'm a talented girl because when I was a kid I never really was training and I was still winning, and I just learned how to make a good corner or how to, wait for scrub or keep the bike low in the jumps. And if you are able to do that without nobody telling you, it's because you have your talent inside yourself. Nobody ever teach me riding a bike, no one. It's something that I think I have in my blood. The reason why I came back after the 6th time I won, it's because I only had one dream left, which was to win a title being a mom. For sure, I want to prove myself that even after a pregnancy, I can still be the fastest and still be at the top and fighting for the World Championship. So as soon as I could, 1 month after I gave birth, I was back on the bike.
Only 12 points separate the top 4 riders, Duncan Papamaya, Fontanesi and Van der Ven.
And I was still fast, I needed time to be back at my level, but it means that I was ready to participate and I was training almost every day. I was lining up behind the gate in Matterley Basin 2020, only 3 months after I gave birth. And that for me was already a big achievement because my mind always wanted to be back, but you never know until you get there.
Third overall this weekend, the KTM of Chiara Fontanesi.
And when I could finish on the podium already at the first round, it was just really amazing for me and something that I was just like speechless. The season this year is going very well. I've been very consistent apart the first round where I had a bad luck and I lost a lot of points, but for the rest I've been on the podium every round. I won 3 of 4 motos in Turkey, which was very good. 4 motos, very intense. The all 4 finished almost the same, you know, apart the first one. I think that has been one of the greatest battles I've had. That was a proof to myself and to my family that if I say something, I can reach it. We don't prepare strategies before the season, especially in these couple years, you know, with the COVID situation. You never know when you're gonna race, if the race is going to stay there, so difficult to make plans. What I do, and it's what I always did, it's to focus each motos in what I have to do. So step by step, not thinking on the final result, not thinking on I have to do that instead of that.
Just keep moving forward, forward and faster, faster, stronger, stronger. Just keep flying further, further and wiser, wiser, higher, higher. Take the limits up.
The way you train has changed. Before it was more about riding and racing. Now I wouldn't be so good if I would just ride a bike and not training physically. There's no specific area where you train, it's just about whole body because on the bike you move everything, like really everything. So it's important to be fit enough to try to avoid the injuries. When I started, which is not ages and ages ago, but the bike has changed a lot and we have ECU, traction control, things like that, that you can work so much on that. And when I started, I didn't have all that. So everything is developing year by year. So then you need to be always at the same level. Inside myself, I always want to be the best in everything I do. And I give everything I have. If you want to become a world champion, you need to work hard. I wish that I could have had the possibility to have somebody like me back in the days telling me how I should train, what I should do. That's why we decided to give the opportunity to the others, exactly what I didn't have when I was younger. This is basically why we opened the KFA. Everything that I do, how I became a champion, how I kept being a champion, how I could take a year off, have a baby, come back, work hard and be back at the top has something to do with the academy because our academy is based on our experience. This is what we want to give to the young people that comes to train, to be able to teach them that you need to want it in your mind, you need to work hard, be consistent. And what I did, coming back, you are more trusted if you have a story to tell and to prove than if you have never did something in your life. I think this is really a big part of our trust in the academy. My parents, they thought that I would stop one day because I'm a girl and they said, okay, she will be interested in something else, but in the end now, I'm still here racing and basically all the families involved in the team, probably something that nobody would have ever thought. I feel like, wow, I'm 27, I won 6 times the World Championship. I had a baby and I'm still there at the top of the world. It means that I'm still able to do what I'm doing. Becoming a mom doesn't mean that you need to sit home and stop living.
Here we are, temperature 16 degrees, barely a cloud in the sky over the Dolomite Mountains. Most picturesque racetrack that we have in Europe, possibly. Fontanesi starting on pole position, as she so often does. Fontanesi, upside down on the top of the hill. Has that pretty much decided the championship?
I already forget about what happened because it's not something that you need to think about, because it's not that I've been doing mistake. It's something that happened to me for no reason. I mean, like, I just was the unlucky girl on track. I cannot, stay still and focus on that because it will take me nowhere. I was fast. I took the pole position at the last round again, so I know I can win. When you lose yourself. It's not the team that loses. And I think that's why individual sport makes you also stronger. This that happened this year made me stronger. It's not about winning. When you win, you don't get stronger. I was really happy to see all the family, friends and fans at the end of the podium. I wasn't expecting this at all. I mean, I was just with my daughter, going back to the van, and I was like, okay, now I need to get changed. It was the last race of the year. All of a sudden, I turned the corner and I saw all the people on the line waiting for me, and they even took me and made me jump in the air. There were many people that I didn't know that they were there cheering for me, and that was amazing. I was feeling like I won the championship. All of a sudden I was like, smiling and crying from joy because I made people proud anyway. This is why I race. I race and I want to win for moments like this. They show me that even if I did not win, we could still live with moments like this. I'm so happy that I could give everything I had, because nothing more frustrating than ending a championship and knowing that you could have give more. I gave everything I had, and that's why I'm happy anyway. What happened this year was out of my control. It was not my year. What happened just made me stronger. But I will train and fight again, and I will be back.
...2022 is going to be an exciting challenge for the engineering group, trying to understand the effect of all those changes, very big aerodynamic changes, The whole aerodynamic behaviour of the car has been reconsidered in the regulations to try and make them more able to follow closely, to give us better racing. We've also got very, very different tyres. So all of that needs understanding, and we can start that work here in Brackley on the simulator. But as I said, it's really trying to understand how the new cars will generate performance. We'll run them quite differently to the cars that we're used to. The previous cars were all very much an evolution. We also need to understand how the tyres will generate performance. What sort of regime do we need to operate those in terms of temperatures? How do we get best grip? And then the other big element is really bringing it together with the driver. How do we actually get the car balanced? How do we make it stable? How do we give them the front end they need? How do we give them the good traction that they're going to want? So those are all questions that we can start answering here on the simulator, but then also on the track. With such wide-ranging changes to the technical regulations, there's a lot of learning that we're going to have to do at the circuits. And when you get a new car, you're always learning, trying to understand how to get it in the sweet spot, how to get the drivers completely happy with the balance for that all-important lap in qualifying. But the learning curve here is going to be much, much steeper. We'll be finding real lap time, hopefully with every run, but certainly with every day of testing, we'll hopefully have moved that setup on a stage. And that's going to carry into the racing. So with every new track you arrive at, you've got to go through that process of understanding the limitations, working on the fine tuning. But there's going to be an enormous focus, especially in those early races, of trying to understand where that performance is, trying to get the car in the best possible condition to try and make us as fast as possible in qualifying and the race. The basic approach to the engineering around the race weekend is probably going to stay broadly the same, but one of the key elements here is, have we got good correlation? So have we got good correlation between the car on track and the wind tunnel? Have we got good correlation between the car on track and the models that we're running in our simulation tools, the model that the drivers are driving on the simulator here in Brackley? Now, if that correlation's good, then the work that you can do away from the circuit is really valuable. You can start to understand the setup, start to do many more miles than we can possibly do within a race weekend. But as I said, the basic principles are going to remain the same. The big difference for 2022 is just how steep that learning curve is going to be. There'll be a lot more lap time difference between getting it right and getting it wrong. And that's why it's super important that we can start with good testing through the winter, try and build up our confidence in that correlation, and then carry those tools and deploy them into the race weekends. The race weekend format itself changes quite considerably. The purpose there is trying to give the teams less time to work on the cars, give them more time away from the tracks. And this is really coming from the fact the calendar is getting busier and busier, they're adding more and more races, and we need to make sure that we're not working people too hard. So the weekend starts later. The biggest changes are actually on the Friday, where the first session's at 2 o'clock and the final session is at 5 o'clock, running from 5 o'clock till 6 o'clock. And in Europe, the track's going to be cooling down at that time of day. And then you've got much less time on the evening. You've only got 3 hours where the mechanics will be working on the car. The teams will be allowed to stay in the offices for 5 hours, but actually that's still giving us quite a lot less time than we've normally got. And in that period, you're trying to get the car specification finalised, you're trying to collate all the learning from the running that day, trying to refine the setup and come up with the base setup that you're going to carry into Saturday and into qualifying. Once you're into Saturday and Sunday, the format's actually very similar. So, as I said, the big challenge will just be adapting to that new layout on Friday. It is possible we're going to have more sprint races in 2022. And those are an additional challenge. The key bit with a sprint race is you've only got 1 hour to get the car setup finalised, and then the next time you roll out of the garage, it's straight into qualifying. So that puts an awful lot of emphasis on getting the setup right to start. And with cars that we knew really well, that was a big enough challenge. Having a completely new machine to deal with in 2022 is going to make that challenge even bigger. Winter testing is going to be vitally important. There's only 6 days, so that's 3 days per driver, to try and really learn everything there is to know about these cars. There'll be a lot of work put into the correlation side, so making sure that the car that you've put out on track is matching all of those simulations. Have you got as much performance on it as you hope to have on it? And then a big element of trying to understand the tyres, and then in parallel with that, we'll be exploring different setup directions. So trying to get the cars into the correct working window, get them into that sort of sweet spot for the drivers so they can really attack the lap in qualifying. And doing all of those together in that short period that we now have for testing is going to be a big challenge, and the teams that get it right are going to be able to carry that learning into those early races, giving them an advantage. And being reliable is going to be super important. So more components have changed on these cars than in any year I can remember, and making sure that those new components are all functioning correctly, that you can keep the car on track, running, putting miles on it, learning with every mile, that's going to be absolutely vital. One of the big questions that the fans are going to want to know the answer to is, are these cars going to give us better racing? They should certainly be improved. A huge amount of effort has gone into these regulations, trying to mean that the car in front doesn't disrupt the airflow for the following car. That will allow the driver to stay closer, and the closer you can get, the more likely you are to be able to overtake. Now, will it make a track like Monaco an overtaking circuit? In reality, that's quite unlikely. The straights are too short, the track's too narrow. There really isn't any easy place around Monaco to overtake. But what we'll probably see at lots of the other circuits is that you can follow more closely, you can put the car ahead under pressure, it's easier to get within an undercut range, and importantly, there will be straights now where hopefully you can make a passing manoeuvre stick, whereas previously it wouldn't have been practical. So all of that, we'll start to get a flavour for it in Barcelona, in Bahrain, but really it will only be when the lights go out for that first race that we'll know whether this project has been successful in that very specific regard.
My name is Neil Eckersley. I'm a double Olympian, Olympic medalist in the sport of judo, and I'm an abstract contemporary artist. But as a street kid, as a working class kid, belief was to me was having that ability to have the confidence to step out into a world that was totally alien to anybody, and to be successful at that particular thing, is having that belief and that understanding when everybody around you is saying you're not going to be able to do that, you can't do that. And it's been very similar as an artist. When I first started to become an artist, people said, what are you doing? You're a judo guy, you're an Olympian. And they kind of were quite negative about that. So having a belief in yourself, or having a belief in a project, or having a belief in a goal is really the key for me. Being an Olympian and also being a martial artist gives you a degree of resilience. So if ever there's been any difficult or challenging moments in my life, I've always been able to have that ability to dig in and get through that. So I'm classed as a cityscape artist. If you see a lot of my work, you'll see a lot of that theme through it. So to me, Beijing was really about trying to capture the actual city itself and try and find a way of showing, as an artist, the vibrance, the energy, and the movement in the actual city itself. So bringing the Olympics together is, I kind of worked around bringing more of a winter scene. So if you look at the artworks that I produced, they've got lots of snow, lots of ice within those particular pieces to try and capture that particular moment in time. What I'm looking for from any Olympic Games is to celebrate the youth of today, and coming together to compete and perform in the sport that they, I understand as an Olympian what it means to go to the Olympic Games and how valuable and important that is. So for me, what I'm looking for is this Olympics to be the perfect platform for this young generation to compete and to be successful in their own right.
February 22nd, 1732. George Washington, the first president of the United States, is born in what's then the Virginia colony. Washington commanded American forces during the Revolutionary War and led the Founding Fathers in drafting the U.S. Constitution. 2006, insurgents destroy the Golden Dome of one of Iraq's holiest Shiite shrines, the Askaria Mosque in Samarra. The blast sets off a spasm of sectarian violence in Iraq just years after the U.S.-led invasion topples Saddam Hussein from power. 1980, the miracle on ice at the Winter Olympics in Lake Placid, New York. That's where the American hockey team beats the heavily favored Soviet Union 4-3. ABC announcer Al Michaels.
You've got 10 seconds. The countdown going on right now. Morrow up to Schultz. 5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes!
The U.S. team later claims the gold medal by beating Finland. The Soviets take the silver. And 1987. In New York, pop artist Andy Warhol, known for his renderings of Campbell soup cans, dies at the age of 58. Today in history, February 22nd. Ross Simpson, The Associated Press.
Welcome back in our studio, and in today's news,